everyone. Welcome to Spotlight on Middle Country. My name is Lenore Paprocki, and I am the president of the Greater Middle Country Chamber of Commerce.
And I'm Sal DiVincenzo from the Miller Business Center at Middle Country Public Library.
So today for our Spotlight, our member that is here today is the Bristal Assisted Living. We have two people representing that, and that is Julie Wexler and also Lindsay Navetta. So glad to have you ladies here today.
Thank you. We're really delighted to be here. This is really fabulous that you're able to do this for businesses and organizations.
One thing that came out of Zoom and the pandemic would be this, right? You guys don't have to be near, I don't have to be near you, but yet we can still all chat. So let's start with you, Julie, because I know you're of the Bristol. So here's the thing, the Bristol Assisted Living of Lake Grove. But when I say that, I know I see Lindsay over at Lake Grove all the time, but I see you everywhere. So tell me a little bit about your position and what you actually do for the Bristol Assisted Living.
So I am the Director of Business Development for the Bristol Assisted Living, and I represent all 16 Bristol communities in Nassau and Suffolk County. So we have communities in Nassau County, to the west in Lynbrook and North Woodmere, and then to the east in Suffolk County, including the Bristol at Lake Grove, Mount Sinai, Holtsville. So we have 16 communities in total.
That's a lot of communities for sure. No, very good. So Lindsay, I would love to hear a little bit about you. Because, you know, you're a young girl and I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's my own opinion, but typically you don't see young girls involved in assisted livings. So can you tell me a little bit about what brought you to the Bristol?
Absolutely. So I am Lindsay Navetta, and I am the Director of Community Relations here at the Bristol at Lake Grove. So I am one of the first points of contact that families will make when looking for an assisted living community for their loved ones. So I got into assisted living by a college professor who I thought I always wanted to work with children. I did not have much experience working with the geriatric population, and she advised me to go check out the Long Island State Veterans Home. And I fell in love with the geriatric population, and I haven't looked back. It was the best decision I ever made. And I truly love working and helping families find the right fit for their loved one.
Wow, so you went from children to geriatric. That's pretty
Yes.
amazing. But I understand the Long Island State Veterans Home because my very, very good friend, Fred Skanga, who is the executive director over there, he runs an awesome place, and those residents are just amazing people. Of course, there are veterans, but that's beside the point, but they're also just amazing. So I can see why you fell in love for sure.
Yes.
So what is assisted living good for? Who is it good for?
That's a great question, Sal. Thank you so much. So, you know, I spend a lot of my time trying to break the old-fashioned attitudes about what assisted living is or what senior living is, right? Because when you hear the phrase assisted living, particularly the population that we're working with, which are folks typically in their 70s, 80s, 90s, sometimes even older, their mind automatically goes to the old age home of yesteryear, right? You know, when you think about the Bristol Assisted Living, we're a 22-year-old organization, and we've really changed the idea of what senior living is, right? And so back in the day, you know, people either stayed at home, or if you had to, if you didn't have family to care for you, you went to a nursing home or the old age home. But things are different now, and people are living longer. And the homes that people purchase, particularly out here in the suburbs of Long Island, the homes that were purchased and built decades ago really weren't built for seniors. They were built for families, right? So we have laundry in the basement, we have stoops up to the front door, we have narrow hallways, we have bathrooms and kitchens that aren't safe, and people are lonely, right? their adult children are working, the grandkids are busy, the neighborhoods are quiet. I mean, we don't even have sidewalks in a lot of our communities, right? So it could be a very lonely existence living in a big house that you purchased a long time ago. So with the population living longer, we're lucky on Long Island to have so many more options for senior living. And so what the Bristol Assisted Living is a luxury environment. It is not the old age home of yesteryear. You're walking into a hotel-like setting, and there's activity, there's delicious meals, there's care if you need it, there's supervision 24/7. There's somebody at that front desk. You're not feeling well in the middle of the night, you can pull the cord in your apartment, you can press the pendant, and somebody's going to be there for you. So it really is also peace of mind for the family. So in general, there are 3 types of people, if you will, right, to make it simple to understand, who assisted living might be a good fit for. So we all know those folks who are really just of advanced age, cognitively well, but maybe they're just lonely, not eating well, and they're managing a big house, right? Your typical 90-year-old who might still be driving, maybe still volunteering, at the local hospital, but they don't want to manage a big home anymore, and they don't want to live alone. So they choose to sell their house and they move to a community like the Bristol Assisted Living, where they get their 3 meals a day and their housekeeping and their laundry and their activities and 24-hour concierge at the front desk and peace of mind for their family. And they really live a wonderful life. It's a much simpler way of life, a much safer way of life. And if the time comes that they need any additional help, maybe they need help taking a shower, maybe they need help getting dressed, maybe there's a little bit of cognitive decline and they need help managing their medications. We have a whole wellness office, nurses, LPNs, personal care aides, med techs, who help to manage that piece of their life for them. We also, in every Bristol community, including at the Bristol at Lake Grove, have a secured memory neighborhood we call Reflections. So for somebody with more significant memory loss who needs a smaller, more structured, and more supportive environment, we have Reflections. So, because we can't have this conversation about senior living without acknowledging the fact, and these are sobering statistics, that when you are 65 years old, you have a 1 in 10 chance of having some kind of a dementia diagnosis. In the next 20 years, by the time you are 85, it is 1 in 2. So 50% of people 85 and over have some sort of diagnosed cognitive decline. Our average age at the Bristol Assisted Living is 87.
Wow.
So this is something we deal with every day. And so whether you're an independent senior or you're a senior who needs a little bit of extra help, or you're a senior with memory loss, the Bristol Assisted Living might be the right fit for you.
Wow.
Now, is there a minimum age?
There really is no minimum age. I mean, generally, like I said, our average age is 87, but we have people sometimes that come to us in their 60s who have early onset Alzheimer's, or for other reasons that living at home is just no longer safe. I actually had a resident that I moved into one of our communities years ago who he actually was born with cerebral palsy, and he was only 59 years old, but the effects of aging actually affected him at a younger age. So although he was cognitively well, he had some physical challenges, and assisted living turned out to be a really great fit for him. And then we have folks who live in our communities who are 108, and that's not a joke. That we
Wow.
really do have 108-year-old. So
That's
we
fabulous.
kind of, can carry people through the aging process.
Fantastic. So Lindsay, can you tell us a little bit about Lake Grove? I've been to that property a bunch of times, and Julie said it right. It's a hotel. Now, I have hospitality background. It's probably one of the most beautiful hotel-like settings I had ever been to, more like a resort. And the food there is amazing. So I'm assuming you must have chef on board as well. So can you tell us a little bit about your Lake Grove facility?
Absolutely. So here at Lake Grove, we are, like Julie and like you said, have that hotel feel. We have a main dining room where all of our residents come down for 3 gourmet meals a day. made by our executive chef and our food service team here in our community. We also have a beautiful backyard here that really makes it feel like a resort. We back a neighborhood. So when our residents sit in our backyard on a nice fall day in the spring and in the summer, they truly feel like they're sitting in their own backyard, where they're looking at the back of another house, or the trees and watching the birds come and go. We also do have an in-ground pool here. So that's another luxury that our residents get to experience from Memorial Day to Labor Day. And we also have a small 3-hole putting green for those who like to golf or want to take up golf. We have activities all day long. We have a movie theater where we show movies twice a day. So it really is a luxury assisted living community here.
Wow,
Yeah,
where do
very
I
good.
sign up?
I know. And I've had the experience to experience the outside. We've had a couple of great chamber events there. And for those of you who missed it, next time we have something happening over at the Bristol Assisted Living in Lake Grove, you have to come, because Lindsay's not giving it enough credit. It is amazing out there in that backyard, and so comfy and so cozy. And you can see
Yeah.
the residents are walking around. There's a great little walking path they can do. It's just amazing out there. You really do feel like you're in a resort, for sure. So, Lindsay, I guess the only other question I have, I'm loving the property. You know that. I've already seen it. I love it. I've done a lot of things with Julie along the way. I know that the Bristol Assisted Living is top notch. But I guess my question to you is, how do you find people? How do you find your residents? Being in hospitality, I know I always had to, I was looking for 100% occupancy. I'm sure you guys probably are as well. So how do you find your residents that you move in?
So the way we find our residents are many different ways. One of the biggest, and I find the best ways, is resident referrals. Our residents who live here, our staff members who work here, everybody knows somebody that is of that age group that may need assisted living, may need a simpler lifestyle. So word of mouth. We also have Julie, who's our director of business development, who works very closely with a lot of our rehabs, a lot of our hospitals. The chamber members also are great referral sources. So word of mouth, rehabs, hospitals, they will refer their patients to us, or their patients' families to us.
It's terrific. And I'm sure, like you said, word of mouth, that's for any business. A personal referral is always your best referral anyway. So,
Yes.
and you guys do such an amazing job to make all the residents feel comfortable and very much at home. So, if somebody wants to speak to you, how do they reach you, Lindsay, to get to the Lake Grove property? And then, you know what, Julie, maybe you can chime in, and or Lindsay can. What happens if they don't live in this area and they don't want to go to Lake Grove? There are 15 other locations besides that. So, Lindsay, how do they reach you if they're interested in learning more, or maybe taking a tour?
Absolutely. So the best way to reach me is you can call our main phone number, which, get your pens ready, is 631-828-3500. And somebody at the front desk is always available to answer your phone call and will refer you to me. If I am not in the building for some reason, there is always somebody here that can give you the information that you need, can schedule a tour for you to come in and see our community. Somebody is here 24/7 to answer your questions or your concerns. Nobody ever wants to act, and nobody ever acts well in a crisis. So you always want to plan in advance. Never wait for that crisis to happen.
That's great advice, Lindsay. Great advice for sure.
And I just want to piggyback off of that. When we know that when the family calls us, it would be wonderful if people did plan, but the vast majority of the time, people are calling Lindsay because something has happened in their life. Maybe dad passed away and mom has some memory loss and she can't be left home alone, or mom landed in the hospital because she mixed up her medications, or she's getting over a fractured hip. And so it's a tough time for the family, and it's often a hard phone call to make.
Yeah.
But Lindsay and the other directors of community relations are on the other end of the line. And we're a pretty nice, friendly group, and we understand the challenges that you're facing and how hard it can be. And we're going to ask you a lot of questions. So we really hope that you'll schedule some time to talk to us, because we really need to get to know you and your family and your loved one, and what your family's needs are, and what your hopes are, and what you want for your mom, for example. And I always suggest to families, at least just come take a look. Maybe
Right.
it's for your family, maybe it's not. But you can hear Lindsay and I talk about how fabulous it is to live at the Bristol, and how beautiful it is, how great the care is. But you really need to see it and feel it,
Yeah.
and be in the building. So we really encourage people to come in for a tour. And I suggest typically to, adult children, who are usually the people who are calling us, to come first on your own. And you're not being secretive or sneaky or leaving mom out of that process. It's just that it can be overwhelming, and it's
Sure.
hard to remember all the specifics.
Right.
I kind of equate it, and I don't know if Lindsay, you haven't been in this situation yet, but maybe Sal and Lenore, where you are visiting colleges, right? And when you visited the college campus, you're sure you're going to remember every detail because you love the campus so much. But then after you visited a few, it's all mixed up in your
It
mind.
becomes a blur.
Yep.
Yes.
And so,
for sure.
and just imagine what that's
Mhm.
like for your mom, who
Yeah.
maybe is 80 years old, 85 years old, who doesn't want to move to begin with, who's doing this reluctantly. It can be very overwhelming. And in addition to that, every assisted living community is a little bit different. So you might walk into a Bristol, you're going to see a very active population. It's a very luxurious environment, but not every assisted living is the same. And if you go to a community that maybe is not the right fit for your mom, the conversation's over. You see, I told you this wasn't for me. So I typically suggest to families to go visit first on your own, get all the information, because more often than not, you're going to hit resistance. Mom's going to be resistant to making that move, moving out of the house that she's loved, that she's lived in for 50 years. It's hard.
Never
And
easy to get out, that's for sure. So, but I appreciate that, and I agree. Great piece of advice is to make that phone call to Lindsay and take the tour. But we're out of time. I hate to say it. Great conversation, ladies. I'm so glad you were able to join us, and we look forward to visiting you at the Bristol Assisted Living in Lake Grove very, very soon. Goodbye, everybody. Great to have you. Have a great day.